One of my life goals has always been to have my own personal library. And what would a library be without a system to check out books? Now, I'm going to be abundantly clear. I ain't checking out books to just any and everybody. I have one friend who asked me about borrowing books, and I was like, yeah, maybe. But then I was like, okay, how would I keep track of everything I let her borrow without having my books organized in some kind of system? Now, can I look at my bookshelf and tell what's missing? Sometimes, but sometimes I can't. So we have used this app called Libib to scan in and make basically a database of every book I own. Now, the problem is some of my indie books don't have ISBNs, so they're not going to come up when I use my scanner to scan in a book into the database. So for some of those, I have to physically go in, type in the title, find the cover, and do all of that. And I ain't gonna hold you. That's a lot of work. That is real tedious, and I don't be feeling like doing nothing that's that tedious. So when it comes to scanning in books, honestly, it still takes me a minute to do that because by the end of this video, I will have scanned in 319 books to my database. Now, mind you, this is not my first time scanning in books. I have been scanning in books probably since 2024. At this current moment, I own 524 books, I think it was at last count, which I need to count again because I've done some book hauls since I last counted, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying to you is, by the end of 2026, hopefully, prayerfully, we will have all of our books logged into the database. Now, with that being said, one of the main reasons that I want to log books outside of my friend wanting to borrow them is insurance purposes. So because we have renter's insurance, we have to be able to account for everything that we have if, God forbid, something were to happen to this apartment. So I need all of my books in that system so I can send insurance and be like, hey, this is the value of my library. I'm going to need y'all to reimburse me. Now, what I will say is my special editions, oddly enough, haven't been put into this database yet. And I've done a video before about the special editions I have, but I've added more since then. And then I have covers that are discontinued that you can't find anywhere. It's a lot going on. So with that being said, I have multiple reasons to scan all of these books into this system. And it's a fairly easy system to use. You don't actually need a barcode scanner. I got one because I wanted one, honestly, truly. With Libib, you can use your phone camera to scan books in. You can also use other websites. Like I know Storygraph has a scan-in feature. I think Goodreads has a scan feature. Now, with those, I think Goodreads, I don't know that Goodreads lets you track all the books that you own. I know Storygraph, you can mark books as owned on that. I don't use that feature on Storygraph, although I am a big proponent of using Storygraph to track my reading because they've got different things. This is not an ad for Storygraph, and this video is not about Storygraph, so we're going to make a different video about that a different day. Anyway, all of that to say, Libib is the platform I use. My scanner is linked to my Amazon storefront, and we're just going to kick it while I scan in some books. I honestly don't remember how many books I scanned in during this little run, because this run was like one day and it was two different parts. I tried to scan in a bunch of books. Actually, I think I scanned in 100 books because I know before I finished, I had 300 and something books in. And yeah, by the end of it, I had 400. No, I'm lying. I had 200 and something books in. And then by the end of it, I had 300 and something books in. And I only know that because my friend went and looked and was like, I know that's not all the books you have, so I need you to update your library. With friends like those. Anywho, I have been rambling enough. This is the last sprint of the day with me scanning in books. And by this point, I was kind of over it, not gonna hold you. Especially with having to figure out which books had real ISBNs, which one had Amazon identification numbers, which ones, figuring out if I was going to type books in, which I wasn't, not even going to hold you. I've already said that. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me while I do this. And if you have any questions about Libib, how I decided to scan them in, if I have a system for scanning them in, which I don't. I just be pulling books off shelves. Any suggestions for a better way to do this, definitely let me know. And yeah.